I recognize the honourable member for Richmond.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It's a pleasure to be able to rise today and speak on going into supply. And Madam Speaker, I wanted to touch a bit on the issue of education, which certainly is something that's first and foremost on the minds of many Nova Scotians and certainly on the minds of the Liberal caucus office as the official opposition. So Madam Speaker, I did have the opportunity to attend the event put on by Nova Scotia Teachers Union, Take Your MLA to School Day. And I had the opportunity to participate a full day, I should add, at the East Richmond Elementary Centre in St. Peter's in Mrs. Gay Middleton's grade primary class. And it's a grade primary, but there was a few grade 1 students in the class as well. And I have to say, Madam Speaker, I hear many members in the House, former teachers and some who are not teachers, but who have a chance to go speak to classes. It's one thing to go speak to a class for an hour or for a bit more. It's another thing to start the day at 8 o'clock and go till 3 o'clock in a classroom. I can tell you, for me, it was certainly an eye-opener because in that class there was a teacher's aide. And I had the opportunity to see firsthand the interaction amongst the various students. And they indicated to me some of the special needs that existed within that one classroom. And it was just, to me, it was certainly an eye-opener that in a small, in one classroom, I shouldn't say small, there was certainly enough students there, that there was identified needs for so many of those students. And I remember saying at the end of the day to the teacher, what would you do if you didn't have that teacher's aide? Now, Madam Speaker, one of the students, and it's only once it was pointed out to me, was high level functioning autistic. And off and on during the day, he felt the need to be held in someone's arms. It was part of his autism, and it was a comfort thing for him. And can you imagine if the teacher assistant hadn't been there and had been left up to the teacher to be able to provide this while taking care of all the other students at the same time? It's just not realistic. And that was just one of the students in that classroom that had special needs. And so when parents tell us that they're concerned about the loss of these teachers' aides, they have every right to be concerned. And we should take those concerns very seriously. And I have to say, Madam Speaker, I heard a few people comment on the Minister of Education's statement that every parent has a say in the supports provided to their students and to their children. Well, we could only wish we lived in a society where that was the case, that parents would get whatever supports they asked for their children. That's just not reality. And the Minister of Education should know that that's not reality. Parents with students with special needs have to go through a yearly battle to ensure that their child has the supports necessary. And whenever those parents hear of cuts coming, naturally they fear the worst and have every right to do so. Madam Speaker, during the day, it was an opportunity. We started off in gym class and watching one gym teacher try to interact and keep all of the children entertained through different activities. It was something to see in itself. Then to watch the various activities that went on throughout the day, working on the cognitive skills of the children. Whenever there was time for reading stories, to watch the participation of the children themselves, and that they could recite some of the stories as the teacher was reading them because they had become accustomed to them, and even the reactions to the stories themselves and the words that were being said. It was truly impressive, and I have to say, I know it's not every teacher that can provide this service, but Gay Middleton is a very accomplished guitar player and singer. And what better thing in a grade primary with some grade 1 students than to see the children being able to take a 10-minute break and have a sing-along. I have to tell you, Madam Speaker, it was very impressive, and to see the added word, and she was a great singer, very much. And the kids were great singers as well. Fortunately, they did not ask me to participate, and I was more than happy to sit back and to watch them. It was an eye-opener for me. And Madam Speaker, I can say, like members of government side have said, how many times they've been in classrooms. I have as well. But I never spent an entire day in a grade primary classroom. I'd never done that before. And it was an eye-opener for me, and it gave me a much better appreciation as a parent, as an elected official, to understand the needs that exist within our education system. Earlier, we've heard on repeated times the Premier and the Minister of Education quote how many students are no longer in our classrooms. Well, Madam Speaker, I've been here for 14 years. I got here the same time as the Premier. And I have to say, until he became the Premier of this province, never once did the Premier, the member for Cole Harbour, ever stand in this House and say, we have declining students, we need to cut education. Never. Not once. Never. Yep. And declining enrollment did not start with the NDP government in 2009. When the member for Timberlea Prospect was the education critic, never once, and Hansard will prove that, did he say, we have fewer students, therefore we need to cut money in education. It was never said. And it was never said by any member of the government when they sat in opposition. So it's very hypocritical now to hear them using those types of comments when, while they were in opposition, it never crossed their lips. They never said it once. And to hear them suggest that because we have fewer students, therefore the cost should be lower, completely fails to realize what my colleague from Churchill tried to point out to the government, that the cost of fuel have gone up, wages have gone up, the cost of operating these schools have gone up. But more importantly, what this government, I'm sure they know, especially those who are educators, is, as my colleague said, years ago, I remember when I was in elementary school, those kids that acted up, they were said, oh, they're bad kids, we have to send them to another school. Well, they weren't bad kids. They had learning disabilities. They had ADHD. Some had mild forms of autism. They had terms that we never even knew existed back then. Now we do. But now that we do recognize that, it comes with the need to be able to address it and the need to be able to support it. And that comes at a cost. Because at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, I'm sure all of us as elected members want to see no child left behind. And not once have I heard the Premier or the Minister of Education say our government is committed to making sure no child is left behind. Instead, they talk about per student funding, something that when the government House Leader was in opposition, he claimed would be the ruination of Cape Breton Island because it was discriminatory and would affect our ability as an island to grow our economy. Yet today, it no longer seems to be an issue. Madam Speaker, in a perfect world, every student would have the same needs, would have the same talents, would have the same abilities. It's just not reality. It's not reality in this House. It's not reality outside of this House. But as a society, I think we can be proud in our province of the fact that we have worked so hard of recognizing the needs of students, of recognizing their abilities, and training teachers and teachers' aides, the parents, even the staff of these schools to be able to support these students and to be able to identify them so none are left behind. Our caucus will continue to stand up for students, to stand up for the children in Miss Gay Middleton's primary class, the students at East Richmond Elementary School, and the students throughout schools in this entire province. Because if the government is not going to defend the children of this province and the schools of this province, I can assure you that the official opposition is going to do that for Nova Scotians. Thank you.
Thank you. The time allotted for debate going into supply is almost over, but at this point, before we move to the next order of business, I would ask the member for Richmond to stand and retract the remark hypocritical. It is unparliamentary.
By all means, Madam Chair, I would certainly withdraw that remark.
Thank you very much. So the motion is carried.